What's up everyone, Darcblade here bringing you my review for The Last of Us. The Last of Us is a wonderful game that combines elements of action-adventure game with survival horror. Add to that, wonderful graphics, a good story and a beautiful soundtrack, and you've got the potential for a Game of the Year here. Developed by Naughty Dog, makers of Uncharted, and published by Sony Computer Entertainment, The Last of Us was released June 14th, 2013 worldwide, although in Japan it was released the 20th of June. The Last of Us is also a PlayStation 3 exclusive. Now, The Last of Us is a new IP, but it received a lot of hype thanks to the fact that it was being made by Naughty Dog, who had created the Uncharted series. Thanks to the Uncharted series being a good series, this placed a lot of pressure on The Last of Us to be as good, if not better. Now, the story behind The Last of Us focuses around plague infection, a pandemic that has swept across America and infected most of the population. The infection is from a spore, a fungus that affects the brain, eventually growing on the host and turning them into a zombie-like creature. The fungus seems to be based on the cordyceps fungus, which can be found in real life. The vast majority of the story takes place 20 years after the initial infection. You mainly play as the character of Joel, although you switch in and out of various characters at certain points. Anyway, you mainly play as Joel. He is a smuggler set in this post-apocalyptic world. Him and his partner Tess eventually come across a mission, a task set by a resistance group who are trying to find a cure for the plague called the Fireflies. This mission is to escort a young girl called Ellie outside of the military-held quarantine zone to a group of Fireflies who will escort her to a further location. Ellie is extremely vital to the Firefly cause, but I won't go into too much detail about that. Anyway, after escorting Ellie outside of the quarantine zone, things start to go wrong. They find the Firefly escort dead. Now they must decide whether or not to continue to try to find any remaining Fireflies and continue their mission. Eventually, it's just down to Joel and Ellie, and we follow them as they cross America, trying to find clues to where the remaining Fireflies are hidden. All this time, they must survive against the cordyceps fungi, military and police organisations, hunters, and other survivors. I don't want to spoil the plot for anyone, so I won't go into too much detail about what actually happens. Now, the script and acting is top-notch, as you would expect from Naughty Dog. Every single actor plays their part extremely well, from the main characters to the supporting roles. Although the main interaction of this story is between Ellie and Joel. Throughout the entire story, you watch them grow into almost a father and daughter relationship. It is done extremely well, and it's amazing to watch them bond the way they do in the game. I gotta say, the story in The Last of Us I enjoyed so much. It really does blur the lines between watching a movie and playing a game. I mean, I could have watched this without playing anything and enjoyed it more than I do most movies. The story structure is split up into 4 parts, basically one for each season. So that's summer, fall, winter, then spring. Each season seems to focus on a new threat and a different aspect that Joel and Ellie must survive through. Now, The Last of Us story is obviously influenced by many other zombie works of fiction, but I feel that it combines all the best aspects of the zombie genre and creates something that is unique and new. The gameplay behind The Last of Us combines 2 major genres, and that is action-adventure combined with survival horror. Although it does throw in a hint of stealth gameplay here and a bit of third-person shooter there. I personally would divide the game into 4 gameplay sections. First, you have the exploration, where you walk around a map, picking up objects, picking up items, finding supplies, as well as artifacts, collectibles, so on and so forth. Next, you have the combat, which involves shooting, taking cover, hand-to-hand combat. This feels most like the Uncharted games, to be honest, so anyone who's played Uncharted 1, 2 or 3, the combat section of The Last of Us will feel familiar to you. The next section is stealth gameplay. This feels a lot like the Metal Gear Solid series. You're able to practically stealth your way through almost every encounter. Some, of course, you have to fight your way through for set pieces, so on and so forth. But you have the option and potential to sneak past the majority of enemies in this game. If need be, you can perform stealth kills to take people out silently, but this can also lead to more trouble than it's worth, because the enemies do talk to each other in this game. So if their friend round the corner isn't answering them, they will come to investigate. This can, of course, give you an opening to slip past them, or potentially to take him out silently too. Another aspect of the stealth gameplay is that you have a listen mode, where Joel will get down, duck down, and listen to anything that's in the surrounding area. This highlights enemies who are close, who are making a loud noise, so you're able to plan your next course of action. The fourth and final aspect of the gameplay is the crafting system. As you explore the various areas you go to, you can pick up crafting supplies. These then can be used to create bombs, shivs, Molotov cocktails, and a whole host of upgrades for your weapons. Crafting is all done in real time too, so you have to pick your moments when you actually want to sit down and spend time crafting these items. If you do this in the middle of a firefight, there's a high chance that you might take damage needlessly. These four make up the main aspects of the gameplay for The Last of Us. Now, as The Last of Us is part survival horror game, there is a huge emphasis on your supplies. You don't have loads of ammunition, you don't have loads of health packs scattered around the place. You really have to watch and make each bullet count in this game, especially on the harder difficulties. This really does make you assess every single combat you could possibly get into. Have you got enough bullets in order to take these people down and then survive the next possible group of people? You have to think whether it's actually worth it to go into combat or to maybe take the stealth route and save your bullets. The opponent AI should also get a mention because Naughty Dog developed a system called the Balance of Power AI. This allows each enemy to assess the situation and try to think more realistically on what they should do. For example, if they're on their own, they probably won't attack you head on. If there's friends in the area, then they will call them over. They will try to flank you. They will keep an eye on how much bullets you've got. If you're out of ammo, then they might try to attack you more aggressively. This AI makes fighting, especially human opponents, quite tricky in certain occasions and on the harder difficulties. Overall, the gameplay to me feels perfectly balanced. It is probably one of the best aspects about this game. The Last of Us combines many gameplay elements, combines them together and makes a great gameplay experience. The graphics in The Last of Us is probably one of the best examples of graphics that this generation of consoles can bring. Almost every texture is detailed, almost every character looks lifelike. The motion and animation of the characters is done superbly, following the motion of the actors that they were captured from. The environments are amazingly detailed. The water graphics look absolutely fantastic, but this is thanks to the fact they almost perfected this in the Uncharted games. The snow looks gorgeous. Add to this lighting that makes the character models, objects, and the environment look fantastic. There isn't really much more to say about the graphics. I mean, they are the best you can possibly get on a console, at least until the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One come out. The sound design in The Last of Us is really subtle. Now, I've already touched on the voice acting, which is top notch, but the actual soundtrack, the musical score that accompanies the game is very touching. It's a very somber, lonesome feeling that the music gives you. This really adds to the post-apocalyptic world that The Last of Us brings. There's a particular scene where a song called Alone and Forsaken plays, and I feel it fits the scene so perfectly. It's amazing to watch. Now, The Last of Us does come with a multiplayer mode. This isn't just some tacked on mode either, there is some depth to it. The multiplayer mode focuses on 2 factions, and you pick one of the factions and try to survive 12 weeks. Each game you play is a day in the 12 weeks. Anyway, as you play these 12 weeks, your clan grows, you unlock more unlockables for your characters. Now, at the moment there are only 2 multiplayer modes, which is Supply Raid and Survivors. The gameplay in the multiplayer is very similar to the single player, although it does have a bit more of an emphasis on shooting. Anyone who's played the Uncharted multiplayers will notice similarities in the shooting, but that's about it. The multiplayer in The Last of Us is a lot slower than Uncharted's multiplayer. It's also more tactical and strategic in my opinion. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the multiplayer because I've already made a video about the multiplayer basics, which I'll leave a link down in the description below for you to check out if you want. Overall, I think this is probably one of the best games I've played in a long time. Definitely best game I've played so far this year. It has possibly one of the best stories that I've seen in a long time. It has some of the best gameplay that combines so many other gameplay aspects together to make something that's truly unique and refreshing. However, for me personally, one of the best aspects about the game was seeing the relationship between Joel and Ellie. Seeing them cope with the situations they've been put in and the way they communicate between each other is wonderful to watch. Anyway, I've been Darcblade bringing you my video review to The Last of Us. Hope you enjoyed the video and see you next time.